wondering who Girija Vaidyanathan is, she studied high school in Washington, D.C., and now she is Chief Secretary of Tamil Nadu, and I am so proud of her. But now you can hear a little bit more about her from her own words. Congratulations, Girija Auntie. I am so proud of you.
How to keep out all the weeds and make your gardens grow. Living on a patch of land not too large in size.
My name is Girija Vaidyanathan. I am a generalist administrator, which is I'm a member of the IAS, and I'm pretty senior by the IAS reckoning. This is my 30th year of service. Okay, I was born and brought up in Chennai. So that's good, but I have had education in the US. I actually finished high school in Washington. But the rest of my education has been solidly in India. I have a master's degree in physics. And what I do for a living has really no connection with what I was educated in. The interaction with human beings is very important for me. And even now, I obviously love to talk. And this is the only other profession where you have a captive audience. And the other one is teaching. You can just sit in front of people and they can't afford to walk out on you. When I started my career, I think I had a lot of problems with having been trained in an exact science to moving to a place where exactness is never the order of the day. And I was often never able to see even people in shades of grey. I saw situations as this or that. The idea that you could be wrong was more difficult to accept, or it was more damaging to your ego to think that you could be wrong. There is a case which didn't happen in the health sector, which was when I was heading the sugar mills of the state. I took a hard stand against the union and refused to meet them because I thought their demands were not in order. And this was one of those situations where I took a high moral ground stand. In retrospect, that led to a huge strike. And during the peak season of sugar mill operation, the mills shut down. Ultimately, the mills suffered. We didn't get much out of it. They came down from their strike. But I later heard from someone that if I had given them an interview and spoken to them, the whole situation would have been sorted out, because it was only a matter of ego. It was only a matter of she's refusing to meet us, so let's show her. It was also a watershed for me. I was personally really upset by having caused a stopping of the sugar mills for nearly 15 days. And I took it on myself. I mean, no one else said that, but in my mind, it was my own personal failure. I think over the 30 years, and that's a pretty long time, I've realized that when you want to get something done, you have to choose options which necessarily do not represent what you started out with. And that's, I think, how you move along. There is also a trade-off between deciding to stop short of what you actually wanted, which is that shades of grey question, and deciding to go for it. Sometimes when you stop short, you lose a little on what you wanted, but you're able to achieve more in the long run, is my understanding. And when you come to science, there's no such thought process. You either have done it or you haven't done it. I mean, there are very rare occasions where you propose something which is win-win for everyone at the start. Especially since we work almost tripartite, meaning that we propose something, there is a political system which has to see some value in what you're proposing, and ultimately there is a third system, which is a subsystem that carries out what you propose, the bureaucracy below, the field staff. And unless all three come together, the program or the change that you wanted just doesn't happen. We started working on setting up neonatal intensive care units, and we spent 6 months researching that. We did a very scientific and professional approach of calling together stakeholders, and having done that, we put into place 10, or we proposed 10, and we had started our work. 6 months down the line, they were not working, and we couldn't figure out why. a neonatal intensive care unit is set up in a hospital. The hospitals, for some reason, the babies were not coming. The doctors were just at the same stage where we were earlier, which is receiving the babies that were born there. There was a visit to Madhya Pradesh, which is a much less developed state than ours, and they told us, come and see our neonatal intensive care units. And it just dawned at that moment that what we were doing was all wrong, and actually we have to start upside down. We have to start with making the place look like an NICU. You can't expect that the doctor will visualize this and do it himself. So the next batch which we did, we put everything up on its feet. We started with the way the NICU has to look. We concentrated on housekeeping services, which we never thought was very important. We put in place security, somebody who will make sure that no one walks in and makes the place aseptic. And then we had to do another hard sell to the same people who had sold you the earlier idea. So it took us another 3 to 4 months. And at the end of that, we found that suddenly there was a stopping in the recruitment of nurses. So our entire proposal rested on nurses, and there had been a court stay on recruitment of nurses. So we had to find out an innovative solution to recruit nurses through an NGO. So it has taken 1.5 years to learn and unlearn what an NICU should look like. The happy ending is now 4 are working out of the 10 we originally started. So I'm just saying that if you stick on to your original ideas and you don't keep your mind open, even when you're, let's say, 3/4 of the way through a proposition, I think in a sector like health, it's really very, very important to keep an absolutely open mind. So there are two different aspects, but I see there somewhere that you learn that nothing is absolute. I'm not a very upfront person. You don't see me that often. But I'm not a status quoist by any definition. You ask around about me. I'm known for rocking the boat. But the boat is rocked very quietly. So there's a lot of leadership from the back. In the IAS, you don't know how long you will stay in a post. So unless you seed your ideas into those that are going to stay in the organization, you actually come to lead an organization and you leave. So if you keep those ideas as yours, the chances of them being completely taken off the board when you leave are very much higher. So I spend a lot of time trying to sell my ideas to the immediate next group of people who are part of the organization. I don't know what that is. It's a style which is leading from the middle, I think. I mean, what I normally do when I enter into an office is find the ones who work and the ones who are going to make a difference for a long time. There is in every setup 1 or 2 people who are going to be the opinion leaders and who are going to be in that system. If you take the medical profession, for instance, there might be 2 critical deputy directors who are going to become the heads of the organization in, let's say, 5 to 10 years' time, who everybody defers to. I start with that as one strategy to try to find out what they're thinking, how their views differ from mine. I'd spend a lot of time on that, actually. It takes me a month or 2 to work. Month or 2 is not a long time in a general context, but since my average span of work in a particular office has been 1.5 years, 2 months is a pretty long time. So I would spend time to find out why the opinion leaders don't agree with me on. I find out that they don't, and I find out why. If they do agree with me, then I work on it. If I find out that they are partially agreeing with me, then I consciously work on building their backing. That's my style in terms of, then I largely tell them to take it forward, and I make sure that they are facilitated to take it forward. And finally, they should be given the credit for having taken it forward. That actually adds a lot of goodwill in the system, and they see it as their own idea versus something that was thrust upon them from outside. When I leave, I'd like to think that some of my ideas will actually be owned by the organization which I led. It's tough. It doesn't always happen.
Flowers, plants, and trees. And I hope that someday your wisdom will pass down to me.